Hello and welcome back to the Old and Shot. Today we're going to be looking at some lenses and a cat, and in the late 70s, early 80s people would buy into an SLR system like Olympus, Nikon, Canon, Minolta, and if you wanted extra lenses, the lenses from those manufacturers would be quite expensive. So there was quite a booming market in what I call aftermarket lenses. Companies would produce lenses with the mounts for certain SLR cameras, and initially it was with prime lenses, but then zooms became popular and there was an awful lot of zoom lenses came on the market from aftermarket suppliers. You've got the likes of Tamron, Vivitar, Sigma, and we're going to look at some cheap lenses this episode. And the reason for that is I was looking on eBay, and these lenses sell for very little, if they do indeed sell on eBay. I've got 3 K-mount lenses which we've tested, just to not compare with each other, just to see if you can get decent photographs with a lens which costs next to nothing. The first one we're going to look at is the Vivitar. It's a 70 to 210mm macro focusing zoom. It's got apertures which run from 4.5 to 5.6, with the minimum aperture being f22. It's a multi-coated lens. The closest focus on this is approximately 3 foot, which will give you at one end of the zoom, I'm not sure which, will give you a ratio of 1 to 4 for magnification. True macro would be a 1 to 1 ratio. The aperture is a 6-blade aperture. Some photographers might be a bit disappointed with that, not giving a truly circular aperture. It's reasonably heavy. It's got a horrible looking grip around it. But the controls are fine. It is a one-touch zoom, so yes, it does have zoom creep, but it's not too bad. And the Vivitar Series 1 lenses are very desirable. This is not a Series 1 lens, this is one of the later ones. Not very desirable at all. And I've seen these on eBay when I looked at the closed listings. There were lenses like this which hadn't sold at £10. So there's bargains out there to be had, if of course it gives decent pictures. We'll come to the pictures later. Another another supplier of aftermarket lenses was Miranda. This is another 70 to 210mm macro focusing zoom with apertures the same, f4.5 to f5.6, and a minimum aperture of f22. It's multi-coated, and the closest focusing again is approximately 3 foot, and the claimed ratio of 1 to 4. This one is an 8-bladed aperture, so probably a more rounded aperture than the 6-bladed Vivitar. Again, it's a one-touch zoom. It's quite heavy, so there is zoom creep. I have to say, in the field it didn't bother me at all. There is one thing to notice. All of these lenses I'm going to show you do not have engraved scales, they have painted numbers on. And on this Miranda, if you look closely, you see some of the numbers have actually worn away. Again, it's something I didn't actually notice in the field, and it was quite easy to use, quite pleasant to use. And that's the Miranda. The third zoom, it's a different range to the other two. This is a Chinon, and it's a 35 to 70 millimeter zoom, and it's a two-touch zoom. It means that there is a zoom ring, so there's no zoom creep on this. It's f3.5 to f4.5 with a minimum aperture of f22. Closest focus is about 3 foot. And on this one, the macro, you actually have to press a button to access the macro focusing part of it. It changes something physically inside of the zoom, and that will allow you to zoom or focus in to approximately 6 inches. I just measured on the camera, and because it's a shorter zoom, those 6 inches is closer, but again it's about a 1:4 ratio of magnification. And this is another 8-bladed aperture. The Chinon and the Miranda at various times were the house brand for Dixon's. I'm not sure about Chinon, but certainly Miranda and Vivitar are not lens manufacturers. They were companies who maybe came up with the formulas and then had the lenses made for them in Japan normally. Yep, lens made in Japan. And I think this one's made in Japan as well. Chinon, I'm not sure about whether they were manufacturers or whether they were another company that had things made to order. But we had a trip out, and I thought the sort of photos I would need to take with telephoto zooms especially would be ones where I could take advantage of isolating the subject with focus. So focusing on the subject and hopefully throwing the background out of focus. We went to the local cemetery. Lots of interesting headstones and things which would help in composition. And there's one photograph where we came away from there, and it's actually down by the river at Blythe. So we'll have a look at the photographs and then we'll come back and talk about whether or not I believe these zooms are a good buy. All of them can be had for peanuts really. Anything from £10 to £20. I certainly wouldn't expect any of those to go for more than £20. Right, we'll come back after we've had a look at the photographs. The photographs were taken on Rollei RPX400. It's a film I've not used before, but I decided to give it a try. I noticed on the box it says it's made in the UK, which suggests to me that it may be made by a well-known UK black and white film company. I've got another cat here. The shots were, there is some apparent grain. It's not too bad, and I scanned them with absolutely no settings on the scanner, so they're just flat scans, and I adjusted them for light and contrast in Lightroom. There's no sharpening. The lenses, I think they're all much the same really. I wouldn't call them professional quality lenses. They're not fast enough to be professional quality lenses. They're not as sharp as, say, prime lenses would be, or even some modern zooms, but you can make attractive photographs with them, and they're sharp enough. So for the sake of £10, if you want a decent K mount zoom, or any other mount, because they're available in all sorts of mounts. I use K mount because I happen to have 3 which I could use on one camera on one trip. The zooms, they're okay. There's nothing that I would say is brilliant about them, but the photographs were okay. And I think that's it. I'm not going to give you lines per millimetre because I've got no way of scientifically measuring the sharpness, so it's all done by taking the shots and viewing them. I've got to say that on the longer zooms, the Vivitar and the Miranda, when you're focusing through the viewfinder with the split prism, at certain zoom lengths the split prism was blacking out, so I had to move it around, move my arm, the angle of my eye around in the viewfinder until I could get the focusing. There may be a couple of shots where the focusing isn't precise, but I'm not complaining. The shots I got I was reasonably happy with, and certainly the lenses I will use again. So that's it for this one, and we'll see you again soon. Thanks for watching.